I'd like to call the Board of Public Works meeting of May 13th to order. The first thing I would do is ask if anyone besides LCAT is recording this meeting.
Shirley Tangradi, for the minutes.
All right. Seeing no one else, we'll start, and I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes of our 4/29 meeting, followed by the executive session of 3/18 and 4/29.
I second the motion.
You gotta make the motion.
I make the motion that we accept, I make a motion that we accept the minutes of the meeting of 4/29 and 3/18
429.
and 4/29.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we're good there. With that, Bob will give us a superintendent report.
Certainly. My report's fairly short tonight. Bruce and Dan will be picking things up very shortly. The first thing I wanted to do was update the board on our current budget status, and I believe that's partway into your package. You'll see the spreadsheet that's been updated through May 6th. The trends are very similar to what we've seen in the past. We're tracking, in pretty much all cases, at or below budget, and many cases below where we were last year. One item I did want to call attention to is that for a number of months we've sort of put a footnote after the building maintenance budget and indicated that we were running a little bit high because we had to make a significant investment in expenses early in this fiscal year with the water tank repair and replacement at Birchland. At this point, Bruce has been able to bring the budget down now, so we are actually tracking very well based on time incurred to date and budget incurred to date. So we're right on budget at this point, even though we had to make a significant upfront investment that wasn't expected.
Nice work. And we'll delay a little bit of schoolwork in June and just hold it to July, or do we usually just start in July?
We've actually, like you said, we've just kind of, actually with the school's cooperation, kind of sent out an email. We're in a tight place here, so any, I guess, minor work orders, let's hold them off until we get to heating season's over and everything else, and then loosen up the reins towards the end of the year. So
Good.
we're in good shape.
Awesome.
Nothing major. Air conditioners start up. We've had a couple little refrigerant problems, but nothing major. Everything's working, so
Awesome.
we're on track.
We had put the Appropriations Committee on notice that we might need to request a reserve account transfer later in the year if we weren't able to do what Bruce has been able to do, and it looks like we'll be good and we won't need to request that transfer.
Nice.
Should you let them know? So
Good point. I will do so here. So that's really the big thing to say on the budget. Again, it's more of the same. We're tracking well. We're going to be getting down to the end of the year soon and watching everything we spend very carefully to make certain that we finish at or below budget.
Great.
Did want to make a reminder, to give a reminder to the board that town meeting is coming up on Monday, May 18th at 7 p.m. The Board of Public Works has 3 articles on the agenda. They have article number 7, which pertains to the Chapter 90 highway funds. They have article number 8. We have article number 8, the Water Enterprise Fund article, and we have article number 9, the Sewer Enterprise Fund article. I know we had some discussion in the past of who may represent the board in each one of these articles, but I just wanted to confirm that tonight, so as we put the agenda, the final agenda together for the town meeting, we'll have the right names relative to the 3 articles.
So I know I volunteered for 8 and 9. Tom was going to do number 7. Can we swap it up and you do 8 and 9 in case I don't get back into town because I'm out of town that day?
What's 7?
7 is the Chapter 90. I went and taped everything at LCAT,
Okay.
and they were explained. So Article 7, I explained the whole thing where we had the original Chapter 90.
Yep.
Then we ended up getting the additional pothole, and we ended up getting extra money from the $1 million that the governor signed for, and then they accelerated to 2016, so it ended up like $1 million. That's all been explained on TV and in the article. And basically, we're just asking for the approval that
Just
when we
just
get the
reiterate
reimbursements, we can spend
that.
the money. So that one's pretty straightforward. And then the water and sewer, that one's actually, I believe, going to be partially explained in Article 2, and it was at the taping. So Eric explained a little bit about the enterprise funding in water and sewer under Article 2. And so really, we're just going through the motions of the money part of Article 8 and 9. The enterprise funds have already been voted on at the previous town meeting, so they already exist. This is
This is
just
to approve the
to
budget.
approve the budget for which the town has already approved the two funds. So it's really, again, both of them are just procedural. I hope to be there, but in the case I'm late, rather than have them say John Mabry and then you get up for me, I'd rather have it, I guess, say Tom Wilson and Dan Burek, and I'm hoping to be there, but if I get tied up on a town, I don't want to.
All right.
So I'll take 7, you got 8 and 9.
And you're more familiar with them than I am, even from
Yeah.
working them through, so.
And I have the draft articles written now, so what I'll do is I'll forward those out to everybody tomorrow. I'll note that the town council has not yet looked at the motions. The Chapter 90 motion I don't expect will change because it's pretty much the same as previous years.
Right.
Nick Bro did indicate that town council may have some recommendations regarding how the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund articles are read, and those will need to be incorporated in the motion. So the draft I give you might be adjusted between now and Monday night.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you.
The next item I wanted to note was really just to get it on the board's, not even board schedule, but just make you aware that the town DPW has a meeting with the Mass DEP on June 10th. And that's really to go over the town's cross-connection program and to review what has been done in the past and really review our plans going forward. It'll be myself and Mark Langone, our cross-connection control inspector, that'll be going to that meeting, and after June 10th, I'll report back to the board in terms of what the outcome of that meeting is.
Awesome.
And then the last item is something I wanted to mention, and Bruce can feel free to jump in on this if you'd like to. Bruce and I had gone to a meeting on April 1st at Pioneer Valley Educational Collaborative to listen to a presentation that was made first by Paul Schroeder, who has been the energy procurement individual on behalf of Lower Pioneer Valley, as well as Direct Energy had a representative there. And Direct Energy is the current gas contract supplier for Lower Pioneer and ourselves and about 20 other communities. It was a pretty informative meeting. It really helped to understand what is happening in the natural gas business over the next couple of years. And really the message that came across is there is a lot of uncertainty. That uncertainty should largely go away. Everybody expects 2 to 3 years from now as new pipeline and new capacity is being built, but over the next 2 to 3 years, that uncertainty is creating a lot of volatility in the natural gas market. That volatility may ultimately lead to natural gas being purchased differently through Lower Pioneer Valley in the next round of contracts. I believe our contract expires at the end of October.
Yes.
And the reason being, there are two different types of customers out there. There are grandfathered customers and there are essentially non-grandfathered customers. And the interesting thing is with what's happening with the market, right? Grandfathered means where the gas companies actually have an obligation where they need to reserve a minimum capacity for these users. And then there are other customers where they don't have an obligation to retain that minimum capacity. Historically, pricing has been lower for those grandfathered customers and higher for the non-grandfathered customers. But things have kind of flipped upside down as a result of that right now. So what is happening, and we're about 50-50 in terms of our gas services. It has to do with how long the gas service has been in business, when it came online, things like that. Because of the pricing between those two categories of services used to be pretty close.
Yeah.
It used to be maybe a little bit lower for grandfathered, a little bit higher for non-grandfathered, or vice versa. Didn't really make that much difference because they're more or less treated the same. The uncertainty results in at least Direct Energy telling us right now that there may be a fairly significant difference between how those two types of customers are priced.
gap is widening.
Right, and what that may mean is that customers within Lower Pioneer Valley may decide that gap is too much for them to participate in a joint activity where costs are averaged across the group. You know, an average works great when everybody's close to the average. The average doesn't necessarily work great when one customer's on the high end of the average and another customer's on the low end of the average. So we don't have anything for certain as of this point, but it's looking like there's a chance that, for instance, we may end up procuring directly or with a group of like customers that may not be the whole group of customers that historically Lower Pioneer has procured energy for.
And we have an option for a 2-year extension also, which I've got to reach out to Paul and see what that entails as far as a contract with Direct Energy.
Right.
And or, like you said, Bob said, or procure it on our own. So like you said, a lot of communities may be jumping ship and going on their own to find other opportunities. So it's kind of disheartening after all these years being together as, you know, a consortium, I guess you could say it was. And then to, like I said, bail when things get tough, when you buy in volume or bulk, everybody kind of saves, but we'll see what happens.
There's some unique things happening in the gas business right now. And it was a very interesting presentation because they talked about not only the effect of the shale gas coming to the Northeast, but also the effect of the offshore connection points. And there's an offshore point in St. John, Canada, where the large liquefied natural gas ships come in, and there's one off of Everett as well. And they essentially saved the day last winter because of the shipments that were coming in and coming in at a very competitive price.
Right.
So gas prices didn't skyrocket the way they were expected to skyrocket last winter because petroleum prices and natural gas prices associated with petroleum were down as well. But it's all very, it's very variable, and it's going to be different than we've seen, as I understand.
Right. And they said this
Recently.
may last only for, like you said, a couple, 3 years, and then things should start stabilizing again once the supply is increased.
So that Danny and I have a little bit more familiarity too with this from West Mass Development Corp. So what is actually happening too is the whole gas pipelines that are
Right.
being contested, if it's the right way to say it, coming through the Berkshires or coming down from Canada. I don't think they helped themselves by putting the yellow poles in Long Meadow the other day and gaining all that extra awareness of, we're coming through your property and putting these
Right.
ugly yellow poles. So right now, that whole thing is supposed to be better in 18, but they've apparently shot themselves in the foot a couple times with actually getting residents to feel comfortable about pipelines through, various people's property, personal property. So 18 would be great, but that's a pretty questionable time too.
Right.
So I think we have to do whatever we can do, looking as far ahead as we can as a municipality to hedge the bet. And I don't know that there's a clear answer. So
Right.
you're doing everything you can. Berkshires right now, the counties in the Berkshires can't even get gas.
Right.
So they've been shut off.
Right.
So if you want to put a new building or a new service to replace your oil system or to build a new building,
Right. Can't.
got to go to propane.
Right.
Hampshire County too.
Right.
Hampshire County.
Northampton, for instance,
Yeah.
yes. Yes.
Oh, really?
Hadley?
Yeah, Hadley.
Right.
Well, that Amherst North basically cannot add any new gas services at this point.
Crazy.
So it is, and I think what's created some of it, not to prolong it, but what's created a lot is the alternative energy to create electricity. The preferred source is natural gas, so that we could turn off coal and nuclear. But there's been such a demand put towards the need for the natural gas, the cleaner energy source to fuel the electricity. It's consuming a lot of the capacity. So it's not so much there's been a building boom, it's more we've turned off nuclear and
Right.
coal to fire electrical plants,
Yeah.
electrical facilities,
Yeah.
and now natural gas is in such a demand. So
Yeah.
it's going to be tough.
It was interesting here that, with last winter and some of the two entry points, the one in St. John and the one off of Everett, icing up, there were times when ships couldn't get into those points, and that caused momentary spikes in the natural gas prices as well, because those really helped, if I understand it, dampen the peaks.
Right.
And the gas we use here may actually be coming from the Middle East, shipped via St. John, Canada, coming
Crazy,
down
huh?
a pipeline to East Long Meadow.
It's a small world.
All right, good update.
So, to be continued. With that, I think I'd like to turn that over to Mr. Murphy.
Okay, in your
Okay.
pack, I got 2 pages, 2 items, basically related to roadworks. The first one is we received bids yesterday for the 2015 road improvement project that we talked about. Palmer Paving and Lane Construction submitted bids. It's what we expected because it's primarily paving. So some of the other contractors who sometimes jump in if there's, pipeline and other work. In this case, it was primarily paving, so we got the 2 bids we expected, and Lane Construction was the lower of the 2. As you can see, it's $1,049,778.40. There was a slight error in their bid, just a couple $100. Everything checks out. They're obviously a reputable firm, have done plenty of work in the area for years. The bid prices were close together, and they were about where we expected them to be. So, from our review, we think it's good, and we'd like to accept the bid.
Extremely close, 0.4% apart, which is pretty close in a $1 million bid.
Yeah.
I did,
Lane's not supposed to come on the side of the river.
they have some lately, and one of the jobs they did recently was the work for the town of Long Meadow, and I reached out to Mike Rabel today to better understand what Long Meadow has done the last couple of years and some of the issues that they had at Converse Street. And Mike, first thing he said was he had come to Long Meadow from Windsor Locks, Connecticut. I don't know if you're aware of that. He had worked with a number of Connecticut paving companies and has worked extensively with both Palmer and Lane. Had good things to say about them all. He actually said that if he had to rate them, he would put Lane above the others.
Right.
So he had a good amount of confidence in Lane. What he indicated on Converse Street was that what was put down was a very thin overlay. Converse Street is slated for a full reconstruction project through Mass DOT. So by design, what they put down was just a straight 1-inch thin overlay that he indicated was expected to last plus or minus 2 years. It had a very short life because they expected just enough to buy them a year or 2 until the Mass DOT project came. He had no concerns with what happened there. There may have been failure a little bit sooner than he would have liked, but it wasn't surprising to him.
But we had a very difficult winter, with a lot of frost.
Won't that be wonderful? The construction of 91 and Converse Street. Won't that be wonderful?
It's just getting it all out of the way at once.
And a casino and what?
Yeah, I think I can go out in the woods and find a stick to put myself in the island.
So I would entertain a motion from Mr. Wilson for the Lane Construction, if you would, so.
I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the bid from Lane Construction for $1,049,778.40.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Awesome.
You may want to talk a little bit about the schedule written into the contract, Dan. We haven't got anything detailed from the contractor yet, obviously, but we
Yeah.
did put some constraints in the contract.
The constraints were September 30th, everything has to be done, and April 15th, the 2 streets that have roads, the 2 streets that have schools has to be completed, so the Hamden and Maple Street. has
By
to-
August 15th.
I'm sorry, August.
August
15th.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. The second one is the spring crack sealing project. It's $34,800 to be funded under the RAP program. Basically what we did is we created a list. They're not going to be able to complete this entire list, but they're going to start on this and work their way through as much as they can, because they lay it down by the gallon, so you can't be certain exactly where they're going to finish. We looked for 3 quotes: seal coating, crack sealing of Taunton, who did the work in the fall, and then Costello Industries of Connecticut. Costello indicated they were too busy to meet the June 30th deadline, which is required through the RAP program. And we ended up getting seal coating at Braintree was the low bid at $8.95 a gallon. It's a little bit more than we paid last year. I think we paid just under $8 last year, so it did come up a little bit. But they're a reputable firm. They've done work all over, and we recommend award to them.
So I'll entertain a motion for the crack sealing from Seal Coat.
I'd like to ask for a motion to accept the bid from Seal Coating, Inc. of Braintree, Massachusetts for $8.95 a gallon.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Sign that. All else is good in Dan's world?
Yes.
All right. Perfect. And Bruce?
Yes, a few items for the board this evening. Our Pine Knoll camp preparations are undergoing this week, going through all the buildings, cleaning roofs, repairing doors. A little bit of damage, not much this past winter. We only had one window broken this whole winter up there, so it was from a golf ball, so somebody's playing some golf up there. So that's underway. We're going to get the pool going next week, cleaning that out, washing, cleaning all the stainless steel up, and firing that up by, I believe, the following Monday.
Awesome.
Also, I've started scheduling the annual facility inspections throughout the town for fire sprinkler systems, acid pits, fire extinguishers, clocks, PAs, fire alarms, emergency lighting systems. And on that note, I did go and get some quotes for our district-wide filter program. Last year, we spent about $6,516 on filters for the district for all 4 changes throughout our district, through all our air handlers and everything else. I received a quote from Granges for $13,056, Pure Air Inc. for $8,348, and Bell Simons Company, who actually supplied us filters last year, for $6,022.
Oh.
So we saved about $500 on filters for this upcoming year. Next thing on the item this evening is the high school tennis courts. I've told you guys, I believe at the last couple of meetings, we have the opening ceremonies on Saturday. Our electrician is finishing wiring the new lights over there. He will be complete tomorrow, just in time for the opening. He's actually put some pretty unique devices on it as far as operating the lights over there. It's going to be a push button access, so when you're using the courts, you go push the button. It'll allow the lights to come on for 2 hours. Warning strobe will engage once 5 minutes is left on the timer, so people can see that from the courts, and if they want to continue on, they can go press the button and it'll reactivate that timer for another 2 hours.
Awesome.
So that'll be wrapping up tomorrow. We still got a little bit of work on the service area for the tennis courts. We got to do where the service is. We got to put a little roof. We got to pour a concrete pad over there, but we should be completing that project very soon. And on that note, to Mr. Mayberry's question last week as far as the stadium lights. Lights are programmed through the athletic director during night activities, usually sunset. I reached out to Dan Mauer. The lights are programmed to go off at 10 o'clock every night, regardless of events being taken place out there. The reason for that is for the public to be able to access that facility. So during winter months, he keeps them off, and during the summertime, he's actually going to see how late he wants to keep them on, but I did reach out, and so the reason, like you said, when you go by there at night and there's nothing going on, it's so the public can actually use that facility for walking or using it. So,
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Birchland Park drive-in system, I did put that in the central register as of Monday. The dates are pretty much the same. May 20th is the release date for that project. Bid opening date is June 10th. Construction is scheduled for July 6th to August 28th. On another note, on behalf of Mr. Collins this evening, who is not here, I did speak with him yesterday to go over some of the projects he has been undergoing for the past busy month and a half. His department has reconstructed 5 ball fields. Fields include the 90-foot baseball field at the center, Memorial Field, Leahy Field, Heritage Park, and Meadowbrook School. So they've been adding, or taking off, rototilling the clay, adding new clay, and grooming them, and getting them ready for baseball, which I believe started this week. So that's a continuing, ongoing project. He does plan on doing the JV field at the high school and the varsity field also. Catch basin repairs, that's an ongoing process, especially after this winter. They've completed the COA parking lot catch basins that were falling apart this past winter, and they've just finishing up. They'll finish up tomorrow as far as the high school, the horseshoe area. There was a couple manholes there that have caved in, so they're going to be completing that tomorrow. Potholes will be should be completed by the end of this week. They're a little behind on that also due to some of the preparations for some of the paving projects this coming season. So next week, the plan is to get out there, do berm replacement, loaming and seeding, which is we're a little behind on, but we'll get to that next week.
Speaking of the high school, we are scheduled, I believe, Friday to get out.
Oh, yes, and sweep the high school, yes. Friday morning, we're going to get out there based on all the work we've been doing, patching the parking lot, everything else, getting it ready for the tennis opening ceremonies and the town meeting. 4 a.m., the sweeper's going to go out, do the parking lot, do the horseshoes, front and back of the high school, and get to the mains of Maple Street and back to the Rotary. So clean it all up and get it nice and pretty.
Awesome.
Sweeper's been going out based on that note. We got about a third of the town done. It was down for a couple of days this week. We had to do a bearing replacement on the drive belt, but it's back online and ready to keep going.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Good. Let's move on to other business. Anything? Nothing? Schedule another meeting?
Two weeks from tonight would be the 27th, if we chose.
Can't think of another place I'd rather be.
There you go.
How damn, what do you think?
Sounds great.
27.
Works for me. 5/27/15 at 5 p.m.
5/27.
5/27/15 at 5 p.m. Yep. Right? That's what we said. Good to go.
We can't do
No.
Tuesdays?
I don't know.
We do Tuesday that week, 26?
26th. Works for me.
26 work for you?
Would you rather do that?
Well, I've got something I should go to on the 27th.
All right, we'll move it.
Okay, it's 5/26.
26/15 at 5 p.m.
Tuesday.
Just to keep Kelly guessing.
May 22. All right.
All right. So I would like to have Mr. Wilson prepare a motion that will take us into executive session and not reconvene for a strategy with respect to collective bargaining.
I'd like to enter into executive section for purpose of collective bargaining.
Second.
And not to return.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, roll call.
Aye, Thomas Wilson.
Dan Burek, aye.
John Mayberry, aye. Meeting adjourned.